Welcome everyone, Marcelo is my name. I am the Niche Fragrance Collector. I've been spending quite a bit of time on the Rhodes collection of fragrances. I've really fallen in love with both the Africa and Asia. I found that the Africa collection of fragrances are energetic, vibrant, they're alive, and the Asia collection tend to be very floral with a slight woody accent. Each one has its own nuance. A question that I get constantly asked is, what are some good fragrances that I would recommend for the office? And I'd like to put forward these guys here as the perfect candidates for them. Let me start with Past Presence. It's part of the Africa collection, and I find that unlike its siblings, all the others in the Africa collection tend to be really energetic, just full of life. As soon as you spray, they come alive. Whereas this one here is almost like the quiet child in that mix. I sprayed early, so I'm on the dry down here, whereas this is now the opening vibrance. For those who've seen the other episodes that I've done on this collection, you know that I've said, let's not look at the notes. Well, I'm gonna go rogue on you and let's have a look at these notes. You'll see that the opening has a beautiful bergamot and black tea, followed by, in the heart, jasmine, and then finally, tonka bean in the base. The notes, in my opinion, are very simple. The reason why I wanted to show you that is because even though the black tea is in that opening, I find that for me, that note plays throughout the whole fragrance. I love the scent of black tea. I love it. I was gonna say I love it in nature, but it's not in nature. But I love when you open up a tin, even like an English breakfast. I love that herbal, floral-like component that the raw black tea has. It's just divine, and I find that this fragrance here does it really, really well, and it actually accentuates that herbal floral component of the black tea. There are some beautiful fragrances that accentuate that black tea component, such as Oolong Cha or even Shanghai 1930. However, both of those fragrances have other nuances or other things that are happening in there, and so that black tea is part of the total construct. For Oolong Cha, it's a very lychee, citrus blended together, whereas Shanghai 1930 has that wonderful tuberose note that plays through it. Whereas here, with Past Presence, I feel that it's really a celebration of the black tea. As I mentioned, in the heart it has jasmine, I don't detect it, tonka bean in the base, and the tonka bean in the base does give it, it does lend itself to it. Have a look at this. Bubble tea is a big deal here in Australia. I found this particular brand in Tokyo and fell in love with their brown sugar Deer Ioka. I think that's how you pronounce it. What I love about this bubble tea, it has this beautiful black tea, robust, but with this brown sugar component to it. The scent profile of that drink is magic, and I feel that this has some of those elements. Now, at the end of the day, this is still a perfume, so it does have a perfume-like quality. It's not like if I were to brew some black tea and then pour it on me, doesn't have that kind of vibe to it. But it does have that black tea nuance accentuated so wonderfully here. I normally mention that the Rhodes fragrances have this wonderful evolution where they start, where they go, where they end up, you know, so many different places, like I Am Dance, also part of the Africa collection. That thing is like a dance performance. It starts somewhere, it moves somewhere else, ends somewhere completely different. Whereas I find that Past Presence is very linear. Where it opens and where it dries down to is a very similar place. As I mentioned, I did spray earlier. Black tea, a slight vanillic, not brown sugar, but it does have a sweetness to it. It's just a lot more robust, but essentially it's the same scent profile that I'm picking up. As I mentioned earlier, the bergamot is in that opening. You do get a slight burst of that citrus in the beginning. For me, I only get it for about 15 or so minutes, and then I start to settle into that floral herbal black tea component. That vanillic woody tone comes near the end, but it's magic. The only thing about this fragrance is that it is a low projection and also low CI. If you want a fragrance that has a lot more push, Past Presence doesn't really fall into that category. However, I can detect it throughout the day. You do need to spray more than once though. For me, I find that the longevity on it is about 4 to 5 hours, but I don't have a problem bringing this to the office. As I said, if you love that black tea component, that black tea scent profile in a fragrance, this is magic. It does work well in that office environment. For those who want something with a little bit more push, a little bit more sillage, and maybe it's the vanity in me, but I do love wearing Improved Silence. This one here has a lot more push. I find that this fragrance does fall into a moderate category when it comes to its sillage and also projection. And I do get more compliments. And again, it is the vanity in me. I recognize that. At the end of the day, I do wear fragrances for me, for myself, hence why I do enjoy wearing past presents. But I also love it when others go, wow, you smell really good, man. Unlike its African cousin over here, this one has an incredible evolution. This one really dances around. On opening, it's a wonderful candy-like citrus component to it, but blended in with the lavender. There is this, they're almost like they're fighting each other. There's this lavender that comes through, but then this candy-like citrus, and then lavender emerges again. It's not a robust aromatic lavender, but the lavender note is definitely present and definitely dancing in amongst all that. Wonderfully vibrant, very happy. And it's interesting, it's almost like they've swapped, because normally the Africa collection tends to be that vibrant, bright and sparkling kind of fragrance, where the Asian collection tends to be a lot more subdued. Whereas here in Improved Silence, it does extend itself more in a much more happier sphere. Like I mentioned, when the fragrance opens, it does have this wonderful citrus lavender interplay. It then moves into this gourmand cake-like quality to it. Finally, it dries down to a woody vanilla fragrance. So for me here, I'm getting a floral fragrance with slight vanillic woody tones to it. Those who detect the fragrance on me mention that it's more gourmand cake-like quality. Actually, I've had a few people say, oh, it's a beautiful gourmand fragrance that you have. It's interesting, the gourmand qualities are coming about through the almond milk, immortelle flower, and also the vanilla. I love Italica. I also love Mandorle by Sorador. Both these fragrances really expand on that almond note. The difference though, it is very Amaretti style. So the almond note is front and center. It has a really strong presence, especially Italica. You feel like you're actually in an Italian coffee shop eating an Amaretti biscuit. I find that Mandorle is a little bit softer in that, but at the end of the day, they're both very almond-like fragrances. Here, the almond is present, so you can detect an almond-like quality to it, but I feel like that with that vanilla in the base and then the immortelle flower in the heart, that it's creating this wonderful gourmand cake-like quality to it, where the almond doesn't sort of extend itself. Immortelle has this beautiful toffee-like caramel component to it, and that's what I'm getting through here. The cake-like quality is there probably for about another hour or so, but when it does finally dry down, an hour or two in, the main components for me is that vanilla woody element to it. I found that the longevity on this fragrance is 5 to 6 hours, and as I mentioned, the sillage and also the projection is a lot stronger. I am getting a moderate trail. It does have very, very good presence. But again, in an office environment, for those who like to be noticed because of their fragrance, Improved Silence is definitely the one that will create that level of presence. There you have it, the Rhodes collection. If you are new to niche, I'd recommend to you the Rhodes fragrances. I find that their library of perfumes is very, very unique. Between the core, Africa and Asia, there's something for everybody. As I mentioned earlier, Africa is amazing for its vibrance. The Asia collection, glorious for its florals. And the core, it's super diverse. There's something for everybody there. Hope you enjoyed that. If you've got any questions for me, let me know. I'm curious to find out what, if anyone does have any of these in their collection, in particular past, presents, how does this perform for you? Thanks everyone. We'll see you guys all on the next episode.